I also want to point out too, even with seeking help, like in our situation where we didn't get the answer that we wanted, but still pushed past that from a professional who was probably used to dealing with people who had a lot more net worth than we did. And that's what I took away from it. I'm like, he's used to dealing with people who have millions of dollars off bat. So seeing our little saving nest egg, he's probably like, oh yeah, no, this is not gonna work out. But even after that, like you can still find a way. Like if you manifest it, and if you know like this is my goal, like don't let one person stop you.
Over 50% of Black Americans are unmarried, and only 2% of Black families in America have a net worth over $1 million.
We are on our journey to not only join that 2%, but grow that 2%.
Facts. I'm Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, with my beautiful co-host.
I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. You can go to our website at them4show.com, our Instagram at them4show, and our YouTube channel at Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making.
And welcome to the M4 Show. So I think that coming from where all of us came from, like we were broke college students, right? But I think we all knew where we wanted to go. I think we all saw the marriage, the family, the lifestyle that we all wanted to live. And we knew we would get there eventually. And like Megan just said, like, this is my person that I can go through the mud with. This is the person that I can go to the top of the mountain with. I can travel to Dominican Republic with. I can travel to Greece with. I can travel to Spain with someday, right? So I want to kind of zoom, because we went through memory lane on the brokenness, right? But now all four of us are real estate owners.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. All four of us are now LLC owners and business owners.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to kind of learn from you all a little bit, and you let me know which one you want to dive into first. We can go trucking or we can go the real estate. But how did y'all get started in either industry? How did you come up with the mindset of, hey, queen, hey, king, this is what we're about to invest in together?
I think, well, starting with real estate, I think that was like our first, if we're going chronologically, where we first dived into. And for me, I was always focused on owning a house. I think he was too, like having something that you were going to own. I had all my friends moving out, getting these cute apartments. I was at home. I was, dang, that's like, this is so cute. I want to have my space. I'm like stepping on my parents' toes. But I knew that I didn't want to pay towards something that I was never going to have ownership in. And that like irked my soul, because I mean, people call me frugal and I'm okay with that. But I like calculate like, okay, if I put even just 1,000, even if rent is only 1,000, which we know today, very hard to find. I'm just like, I'm putting $12,000 a year towards something that I'm never going to have, like that. I just couldn't sit with that. And I know, when after we got married, Danny was also very much looking into ownership, wanting to own something. And so he brought up the idea of the duplex. I was more looking for like house, townhouse, whatever I can get my hands on that I could afford. And then after we got married, then you were kind of like, I don't know how you came up with the idea or what you looked into, because he's always researching something. But he was like, I think we should get a duplex or, something. And I was like, a duplex? Like, oh. And then he's like, yeah, we should get it. And then, maybe we can like rent out some of it or have the extra space, whatever. And so then, I kind of was like, of course, for me, I'm like, that means I could save money. Like, okay, like,
talking your language.
Like, I can have my space and have someone else pay for my mortgage. Facts, let me do that. So then I think that's when we dived into the idea of like, how can we get something, own something, and then have somebody else help us pay for it. So I don't know how you came up with Duplex,
I think because it was not too long after I started. It was probably like a year after I started my job, just into my career. Megan's doing her thing, and we met with her grandpa, who's like a financial advisor. You know, had a long career in this, helped all these people manage all these
millionaires
accounts, millionaires. So we were like, okay, let's hit up grandpa. Let's sit with him.
I forgot about that.
So we met with him at a coffee shop. We brought, you know, kind of everything to him. Like, hey, this is how much we make. These are expenses. This is what we plan to do. Like
our debt. We brought our debt. This is when we were consolidating everything. We're like, okay, we're married now. We're bringing each other together. That's
right. We're like, so what do you think? Like, what? And then he was like, yeah, you guys can afford a house.
He shut us down. He was like, there's no way you're going to be house poor. Yeah. You're just going to be, it's like, okay, say you get a house. You're in a house and then you're going to be on the floor. You're not going to be able to eat out. You're not going to be able to do anything. You're just going to be in your house. It's like, I don't think that's the lifestyle you guys want to live. And
I felt like I was like heartbroken.
I was so heartbroken.
It's like I was like, oh yeah, I'm in my career, making all this money, doing this, like, and then I was living at home too. Yeah, so we was blessed in that situation. So we're able to save and do things like that. So I was like, okay, cool. And then just hearing that, I was just like so kind of beat up, just like
I thought we could still do it
mentally after. Yeah,
but he was like, no, I was like, no, I don't like someone telling me I can't do something.
Because in my head is like this expert, you know, he just like, you know, he's seeing this, and then, you know, just having, she still had like a positive mindset, you know, that was always helpful too. And usually me, I'll feel down about something for a second, and then I'm like, all right, so how can I fix this? What's the change? Like, what's the course of action? So, you know, just doing my research, looking at podcasts and different things like that. Just educating myself, and then I came across owning multi-unit properties and kind of looking into it, and then saw a duplex. I'm like, oh, somebody else pays most of the rent. I'm like, and then I started asking people. Some people at my church, Brother Farrell. I've always known him to have properties in the community in Compton, near our church, and he was always so helpful. He would rent it out to people at church that were having some difficulties and different things like that. So I hit him up. I was like, hey, Brother Farrell, I know you have, you know, different properties. Like, you got a second to talk to me? And he's like, oh yeah. And he's like telling me about it, kind of explaining it, you know, how to raise the rent, how to refinance, different things, like kind of basically how he did it, take equity out. And then from there, just took notes and kind of did our research, and was brought it to Megan, and she accepted it, which is, I was very appreciative and happy of that. Because, you know, some people, they just have that goal, like, oh, I just want a house in their head. Like, they don't want to deal with it. They're like, oh, it's risky. And they've never thought about it. So they are seen anybody do it. So they're scared of it. And so I was able to tell her that, hey, our first home, you know, it doesn't have to be our dream house. You know, we could just be just a wealth builder. We'll be in it for a while. This is what a lot of people do. Then they do this and they're able to get more, and, you know, eventually get into that dream house paid for. So I gave her the plan, kind of explained everything to her. I explained, hey, these are the people I've talked to, these are the people that's done it. And then just from my line of work, I meet people too that's have done it. So when I'm out in the field working, I always run into these people. And then one lady who I met, this older Black lady, she was like, oh, if you see any house this specific color in the community, it's guaranteed it's probably mine. And that always stuck to me. Like, there's a lot of houses this color, you know, I'll be driving around seeing them. So I was helping her with her issue. So I've seen the issues. I know the issues firsthand. But I was just like, hey, so how did you do this? She's like, oh, yeah, me and my husband, we first had this, and then we bought an apartment, and then we lived in an apartment for a little while, and then we bought this. And she was kind of just breaking down that process, and it was similar. So I've seen the people do it. I've seen older people like gain wealth from it and talked about that processes. So it was just something that we kind of put together and looked into it, and just kind of went from there and took action.
Look, we're going to get right back into the amazing podcast. But if you didn't know, in 2017, we created Black Wall Street, the board game, because we thought more families needed to know about the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. More families needed to know about the legacy of Black excellence left behind of Tulsa Black Wall Street, that we can own a Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Salon. We can have a Booker T. Washington High School. We can have an Uncle Steve's Barbecue. We can have a Renaissance man like Simon Berry, who had his own taxi service and bus service that got bought out by the city of Tulsa. We have brilliance in our DNA. We wanted to make sure that your family can play a game that teaches them about this brilliance. So we have Black Wall Street, the board game right here. We had the first edition available in 2017 that got sold out. We're on the second edition right now, or you can get the beautiful masterpiece version of the game as well. It's up to you. Head to playblackwallstreet.com and get yourself Black Wall Street, the board game, to empower you, your family, and generations to come. Playblackwallstreet.com. Let's get back to the episode. There's a lot of nuggets in that, and I see we have a few folks that are watching live. If y'all have any questions, feel free to drop them inside the comments, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. But one, I love that y'all sought counsel.
Yes,
right.
I was going to say that.
The grandfather and even the church members and people within the community, like, you're asking questions and you're figuring out, like, all right, what's the best way to do this? Well, what's our situation? Number two, more particularly for Megan, you were flexible with the dream, right? I want a house. I want to get something. But once your husband came to you, your partner came to you with another route of still getting to the dream, it just looks a little bit different. You were still open to that. And then the third one, which I think can be an entire new podcast in itself, is y'all consolidated the finances and consolidated debt, which growing up, my parents kept their money 100% separate. We keep our money mostly together, but even some of the debt still separated. So I think there's a lot of things that we can talk about with even learning the pros and cons of putting debt together. But the fact that y'all had that conversation and you're like, you know what? We're building wealth together. So your wealth is my wealth. Your debt is my debt. We are one, I think is also very, very beautiful. Queen, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was going to bring up the point as well as having the, like, seeking out help, right?
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of folks, I think they just look at their, like, immediate circle and, like, well, I don't know anybody. Like, okay, I guess I can't do this, or go to YouTube or something. But YouTube is great. That's a great place to start too. But I mean, what you saying, like, starting with your family, and then, okay, well, you have other communities, right? Then you went to church. Like, okay, church, who at church do I know that owns properties? Okay. At your job, like, I feel like we all interact with people on a daily basis. You just have to kind of have that courage to just be like, hey, I have questions, right? I feel like it's hard, especially in our community, to reach out for help and just, like, be that person to say, like, I don't know, can you tell me, can you let me know your experience? But it's so important to get that exposure to ask those questions and get somebody's experience firsthand, because I feel like that it does something different than, like, watching a YouTube video. I feel like watching a YouTube video, it's still semi theoretical, because it's like, I don't know this person, I can't hit them up and, like, ask them a question, right? But these people in your community, they may or may not be, like, multimillionaires with a whole bunch of properties, but they have one and you have zero. So that's someone you can learn from.
Yeah, very true. And I also want to point out too, even with seeking help, like in our situation where we didn't get the answer that we wanted, but still pushed past that from a professional who was probably used to dealing with people who had a lot more net worth than we did. And that's what I took away from it. I'm like, he's used to dealing with people who had millions of dollars off bat. So seeing our little saving nest egg, he's probably like, oh yeah, no, this is not gonna work out. But even after that, like, you can still find a way. Like, if you manifest it, and if you know, like, this is my goal, like, don't let one person stop you, because it was hard to hear, but I think internalized it differently. But for me, I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm still going to go after it if I'm house poor or whatever that. And at the end of the day, that wasn't our situation at all. If we would have listened to that, we would have been totally in a different situation than we are now, where we still pushed, we still sought other, experts, other research, and didn't just let one person kind of define what our future was going to be. We just still made our path and pushed forward. So I'll say that too. Sometimes you don't get the answer you want, but I think you can still go for it for sure.
Thank you for supporting the M4 show and our mission to increase the wealth of Black families.
If you received any value from this episode, any value at all, any, do us a favor and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple, Spotify, anything, all of them, all of them, wherever you're listening. Go ahead and like and subscribe.
And after you like and subscribe, make sure you send this episode to at least one family that you really want to see win. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.